had a comment on one of my videos recently asking me if I knew anything about the OASE BioCompact 25, and to that I responded, no I don't, but if you want me to, I will make you a video on it. And this is what I'm doing. I bought this on Amazon for I think £15, and I haven't opened the box yet. This is literally the first time I've seen one of these little filters. So obviously it's a nano filter, and you can see on the box it's for up to 25 litres, so a very, very small filter. 3-year guarantee, which is kind of good. OASE is a brand that I would expect to not break. So the BioCompact 25, 120 to 240 litres an hour, and you tend to want about 5 to 10 times turnover, so that would give you a 25 litre aquarium maximum. 5 watts, so quite low wattage, and then you can see the dimensions of the filter itself below. There's nothing on here that I can actually read you in English. N, there you go. Internal filter, specially designed for nano aquariums and paludariums. Complete set for fast installation, adjustable water flow. Everything you'd kind of expect. Let's just give it a little open. I'm not really too bothered about the box being ripped. You can see I haven't opened it there because the safety seals, oh God, still on it. Inside we have instructions. Hopefully there is an English part on that, otherwise it's going to be quite a short video. We have some little suction cups, and then we have the filter itself and a UK plug. So it's definitely the UK model. It looks very OASE, and if you don't know what I mean by that, you haven't bought German products. This at OASE and Eheim, they tend to have very industrial feeling filters. Eheim are a lot worse for it actually, but OASE are catching up with them, to be fair. And yeah, it's kind of a off grey, sort of browny kind of colour. Grey brown, I don't know, slight green tinge. It's not grey anyway. So in terms of the instruction manual, we have how it all works. There is a larger version, the BioCompact 50. It's the 25, but it looks like it's got a conjoined twin of another 25 without the nozzle. I guess just in there's a bit more sponge, but I imagine it's the same motor unit. I'm not sure though. So that will allow you to do a slightly larger tank, up to 50 litres. And then we've got the motor unit, the nozzle and the sponges. This seems to have no words on it. So this is the manual for both of them as well. Can be used by children aged 8 and above. So if you're 7 or below, fortunately you cannot use this filter. And then in this little bag we've also got a little directional flow nozzle which is there. That's quite nice, it's quite pretty, and that goes on the end here, allowing you to adjust the flow to the direction that you want. So that's quite useful. So I've just noticed as well on the out nozzle there, it's got a little bit of a ridged edge, and that allows you to turn the nozzle around from left to right or right to left, and that is your flow adjuster. So that's an interesting design I haven't seen before. That's your minimum, that's your max, and that's just a quick and easy way of adjusting your flow. So let's have a look at this filter now. Now I believe it opens from the bottom, and that's where the water goes in. Got a little stepped area there. The plastic feels a bit thicker and harder than some of the other filters that I reviewed, so that's good. OASE are known for their quality, so I wouldn't have expected them to cheap out on plastic. And note, the flow can only go through this bottom area here. There's no side slots, there's no back slots, it's just this. So you'll probably need to clean this quite regularly to stop it getting blocked up, especially if you have plants in your aquarium. That didn't sound good, but I think it's okay. It just unclipped. There's little clips there, you can see they are indented just to hold it in place. And then we'll just open up and see what media we've got inside. That's an interesting sponge design, and that's your lot in terms of sponges. Okay, so I've never seen a sponge sandwich before. That's different. So we've got a little bit of carbon. Now I get asked about this, how I know this is carbon, and it's because it's black and it has a really firm texture to it. And some people aren't aware actually that you can get sponges that are carbon impregnated. Yes, you can. This is one of them. And then that's just wrapped inside a little bit of coarse sponge. So as with all nano filters, they don't tend to have very good media inside them. and then that just goes back in there. One thing that's quite cool is there's this little plastic plate here inside of the weir area, and that means that the water flow has to go through the bottom of the media. It doesn't go through the entirety of the media. And what you see actually in a lot of these small filters is, as I mentioned, holes up the side and the front all the way up, and what that means is the water will just go the path of least resistance. It'll go through the first hole and it bypasses most of the media, whereas in this pump it can't do that because of this plate and where the weir is. So it's actually a really clever design. And then obviously the plate here just goes straight back on, clips in nicely. Take a look at the motor unit, and that just pulls off like pretty much all of them do. This is sealed. You can see the flow nozzle that we were doing there, and it's like a little fan, look. Looks like a radioactive symbol, and that just opens and closes like that. Very smart, aren't they, the OASE? They come up with all these kinds of cool ways of doing things, and that's why OASE is actually a really popular brand, because they just innovate all the time. Inside here we have a little multi-directional motor. Really hard to get these things out. I can never get them out. I find these little impellers almost impossible to get out, so I'm going to use my trusty pair of rusty forceps there. And there's the impeller. Tiny little thing. Pretty standard though, in nice German grey, as we'd expect. And inside there we have what I assume to be a stainless steel impeller shaft. Now what do you notice here? It looks a little bit greasy, and that's a good thing. So what they've done is they've put a little bit of silicone grease on there, and that's just to help it slide about, help it move, stop it rubbing on the plastic, and prolong the life of the impeller. It's these little touches that you don't get with other brands, especially cheaper brands, more of the Chinese kind of brands. You don't get this level of quality, and these little things that you might not even notice help and go a long way to keeping this kind of filter running for longer. It does feel quite heavy, not that that means anything, but if you're an old British person, heavy things are always better. And we'll just put it back together. Nice click. On the back we have our silver label with all of the statistics on it. We also have our holes for our suction pads to go into. Another thing I'd like to point out is the length of the cable. It's about 1.5 meters, so decent cable length. Right, so we're just going to turn her on for the first time and see what it sounds like. Bit of air to start with, but that's to be expected. So that's the filter on, and you'll have to take my word for it that there's no sound whatsoever, because there really isn't. I can't hear a thing. Unfortunately, in my fish house there is a little bit of background noise, even with most of my things turned off. It's just the way it is, unfortunately, but I can't hear it. It is basically silent. You wouldn't have any issues with that in your bedroom, even if your fish tank was next to your head. You can't hear a thing. The flow rate is very, very gentle. You know, you could easily keep a betta with this filter. I don't think a betta would be really bothered at all about this flow. Certainly wouldn't be getting blown around in the flow at all. And of course you can adjust the flow rate, and on low flow it's like someone very, very gently blowing on your face. I suppose that would be the closest analogy. So yeah, a really, really gentle flow. Great for shrimps, probably. There's a shrimp there on my finger. Great for shrimps, because I imagine with this, the way that this is set up, a lot of the baby shrimps, although they'd probably go inside of there, I'd find it very surprising if they got trapped into the filter itself. And also bettas wouldn't have an issue. This is a very inquisitive little shrimp, probably quite hungry. There he is, look. Let's see if he gets blown away. He does, yeah. So there's enough flow to blow a shrimp away. So yeah, not too bad. Here's one really annoying thing though, which I found out. When you take it off the glass, all the suction pads get left on the glass. That is something, that's enough to annoy me. That one thing is enough to annoy me, because every time you take this out to give it a clean, you're going to have to reattach your suction pads. Oh, Yeah. In summary, I'd say this filter is actually very good quality. The build quality of the pump seems good. The flow rate is very gentle, not a problem with betters, certainly, and shrimps I would imagine would be fine with it as well. Price wise, it's reasonably expensive compared to the competing brands, but they're not necessarily European brands, so quality and build would probably be lower on those. I would say if you're looking for something you can rely on, OASE is always a good one to go for. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed it, please remember to drop a like below, and also subscribe to my channel to see more content like this. Thanks once again for watching, and happy fish keeping.